Science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke wrote 2001: A Space Odyssey in 1968 about a future human-crewed mission to Jupiter in the year 2001. Boy, was he ever wrong. We haven't even sent people back to the moon yet. The point is, predicting the future is notoriously difficult to accomplish. However, some things in the future are not so difficult to predict. For example, with the successful deployment of the James Webb Space Telescope, we can safely predict that many, many exoplanets will be seen for the first time. These exoplanets will be seen in the infrared light they give off, not in visible light. Their exoplanetary atmospheres will be identified according to the gases they contain. Signatures of life, like ozone, methane, oxygen, and carbon dioxide, will be able to be detected if life is present. Civilizations living on any of these exoplanets will be able to be detected by the heat patterns of their cities. Again, if there are cities. There are many discoveries and inventions in laboratories and research think tanks at the present time that we will become aware of within the next 10 years. All this is not only very exciting, but also life-changing on a social and a personal level. Just like when computers and cell phones were rushed into production and worldwide distribution within 2 decades, which totally changed the way we manage our daily lives, there are things coming now that will make our present lives seem old-fashioned. Brightside's first prediction: one world language. All the peoples of the world will be able to speak to each other and understand each other instantly by means of wearable and/or implanted universal translator devices. Instant electronic communication systems began altering society with the advent of the telegraph and telephone in the 19th century. But personal communication between different peoples and cultures has remained stunted due to the differences in spoken language. That barrier is going to be confined to the dustbin of history within the next 10 years. One world language devices are going to be a real eye-opener and ear-opener. Artificial intelligence is the technology that will enable the one world language to emerge. Many more benefits of AI can be expected too. AI will enable society to do away with cash as a medium of economic exchange. It is possible that this will happen within the 10-year horizon we are forecasting. The difficulties society is currently experiencing with different monetary systems are not acceptable in a world that is not homogenizing, but harmonizing. Each person will be plugged into a worldwide economic system, optimally designed by AI. AI will begin to determine national decision-making within an international framework of cooperation, coordination, arbitration, and remediation. War will become a thing of the past, obsolete, counterproductive to human development and economic coordination. This can happen within 10 years. You may be beginning to doubt these predictions. Just hold your doubts for now. When astronauts first went to the moon and looked back and saw our beautiful Earth in space, humanity transformed itself. All the unifying developments we have seen since then can be related to and derived from that vision of ourselves in space. And speaking of space, there are 2 developments in telescope technologies that have a good outside chance of coming into play within the next decade. Liquid telescopes and ionized gas telescopes are entirely possible. Liquids in zero gravity form themselves into a reflective surface. No polishing or adaptive optics are necessary. A huge reflective surface can be created in orbit, so big that we could probably see the smiles on the faces of the exoplanet inhabitants, if they exist, and a million other things too small to see with the James Webb Space Telescope. No, don't laugh. NASA has already bought into this liquid telescope idea and is testing it in space right now. Ionized gas is also perfectly reflective. Before we talk about a crater on the moon, let's remember we have an astronaut mission to the moon already planned, called the Artemis mission, and it's almost ready to go. Soon you will see astronauts on the moon, and they'll be wearing brand new good-looking spacesuits. Back to what I was saying. A crater on the moon a mile wide could be flooded with ionized gas and electrified with generators to create a giant ionized gas telescopic mirror. Who knows what we would see with an ionized gas mirror on the moon? License plates on vehicles on exoplanets? If they have them. Okay, wait a second. I might be getting carried away a little bit. We want to know what we'll see in the next 10 years. I can see now why Arthur C. Clarke went so off the mark. Down here on the ground, we could see aurochs, dodo birds, and mastodons again within 10 years. We have already recovered the complete DNA of these extinct creatures, and with the science of gene splicing apparently picking up momentum, these species of animals, and probably some others too, should be able to be bred back into existence within 10 years or less. Each of these animal species was hunted by humans into extinction, so it would be a good act of atonement to bring them back. Not so sure about T-Rexes though. Concrete could be replaced within 10 years. It should be replaced ASAP because it's not green. As concrete dries, it gives off carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas. The use of concrete in modern society accounts for 8% of all carbon dioxide emissions worldwide. Not only that, modern concrete loses its structural integrity after about 80 years and begins to crumble. We should learn from the ancient Romans. Roman concrete gets stronger with the passage of time. Professor Joseph Davidovits, the father of geopolymer science, has shown that ancient concrete did not dry in the sense that we know. It anneals. That means it dries without shrinking or giving off carbon dioxide. Currently, the formula for this ancient concrete remains lost, but geopolymer science is working hard to bring it back. You should start to see concrete going out and geopolymer building materials coming in within the next 10 years. That's a different look. Our clothing will change big time. Manufacturing techniques for nanofiber cloth are continuing to be perfected. What was only possible to make in small swatches of cloth a few years ago is rapidly turning into a technique for mass production. Soon, we will have seamless garments in very soft and very strong nanocloth. Not only that, but nanofiber production is meshing with microelectronics in truly revolutionary ways. Our clothing can become able to feel in such a way that our clothing becomes part of our bodies. Within 10 years, you should see this type of clothing showing up on fashion runways. We should also see big changes in transportation. Supersonic passenger jets promise to be commonplace within 10 years. For over 25 years, from the 1970s until the new millennium, we had the Concorde, a French airplane that could travel at over twice the speed of sound, Mach 2.02 to be precise. It was discontinued for safety reasons in 2003. Everything looks promising now for the return of supersonic passenger flight. United Airlines has placed an order for 13 supersonic jets to begin international passenger flights within the next 7 years. Automobile traffic is already changing. Electric cars, self-driving cars, and hybrid models are already on the streets. More changes are yet to come as gasoline continues to not be the fuel of choice. Hydrogen-powered vehicles are being developed experimentally at the present time. Will a safe new power source for cars, trucks, ships, trains, and planes find its way to the marketplace within 10 years? It's not the speed of technological development alone that is the determining factor. People's preferences are also a great driving force. Is that a pun? Yes, what we are seeing is a shift in consciousness among populations of people. The people want a future that is better, and they want it as soon as possible. This shift in public expectations is what is really driving invention, innovation, and changes in the market for transportation, and just about everything else. Our food is changing too. It has to. Land development, called urban spread, is stealing land that had been used for food production. Therefore, we are seeing changes in our farming. Vertical farming, as urban farms are called, is going through the roof, literally. The science behind vertical farming is called hydroponics, growing food in liquid rather than soil. Agriculture schools across the globe are immersed in hydroponics, figuring out how to increase nutrition, reduce the cost of food production, and increase its appeal to our palates. Our oceans are overfished by developed countries. Fish farming is becoming essential. Recently, Friends of the Earth issued an aquaculture report that strongly criticized some current fish farming practices, while making a series of great recommendations for the improvement of fish farming. Things look good for industrial-level fish farming, both in containment tanks in the ocean and on land. The good news is that the fish are cooperating admirably by staying healthy and reproducing splendidly. It just may be that they do better when they don't have predators stalking them all the time. So, hold on to your hats, Brightsiders. The future is coming after all. It looks good from here. Lots of career openings in new fields, innovations coming into the marketplace, and new products that will create new lifestyles. But I haven't got a clue as to what kind of hairstyles we'll see in 10 years. That's going to be totally up to you.
Imagine that it's the year 2025, and our planet has completely changed. Rising sea levels, extreme weather, and the ocean becoming more and more acidic are just some of the problems people have been dealing with for years. But in one of the world's largest coastal cities, the situation has become too serious. It was a sunny day in June when a massive earthquake shook the city to its core. The ground beneath people's feet heaved and shook, and buildings swayed dangerously. People ran through the streets in panic, trying to find safety. But as soon as the ground settled, the inhabitants of the city realized the real danger. A wall of water, almost 100 feet high, was rushing toward the city, propelled by the force of the earthquake. The tsunami hit the city with unimaginable force. Entire neighborhoods were wiped out, and thousands of people lost their lives. But here's where things get interesting. In the aftermath of the disaster, the city's authorities realized that they couldn't just rebuild the city as it was before. They needed to be better prepared for the next potential disaster. And so they came up with an incredibly ambitious project to build an underwater city. The goal was to create a self-sufficient, sustainable city beneath the ocean's surface that could withstand any natural disaster. The underwater city would be powered by renewable energy, using tidal power and underwater solar panels. It would be designed to withstand extreme weather and would have its own emergency response systems. The project attracted some of the world's top scientists, engineers, and architects. They worked tirelessly to design the city and carefully considered every aspect of the project. The underwater city would have everything that a typical city had, from schools and hospitals to stores and restaurants. There would be underwater farms where fish and other marine creatures could grow. The city would even have its transportation system, advanced submarines, and underwater tunnels connecting different parts of the city. The project became a shining beacon of hope for people. It showed that even in the face of disaster, we could come together to create something amazing. But as time went on, the project no longer seemed so perfect. The cost of the project turned out to be higher than planned. There were also concerns about how long such a project would exist. After all, the ocean is very unpredictable. And still, the team of scientists and engineers never gave up. After years of trial and error, they finally created the perfect underwater city, a marvel of engineering, a self-contained ecosystem that could sustain people indefinitely. The buildings were constructed from a material that could withstand the immense pressure at the bottom of the ocean, and the city itself was powered by a network of advanced hydroelectric turbines. It wasn't long before the first wave of colonists arrived at the underwater city. There were different people in this group, and each of them had their own reasons for choosing to live in this new world beneath the waves. Some were adventurers seeking a new world to explore, while others were hoping to escape natural disasters raging on dry land. But despite their differences, all these people shared a common goal: to build a new society, one that was in harmony with the natural world. The underwater city flourished, and new discoveries were made every day. The colonists developed new technologies and ways to tame the power of the ocean. They learned to farm the sea and started cultivating underwater gardens that provided them with a steady food supply. But living underwater was challenging. People felt isolated and even claustrophobic. The situation came to a head when a group of activists started to protest against the city's expansion plans. They argued that the underwater city was a threat to the environment it was meant to protect, and that the colonists should focus on reducing their impact on the delicate underwater life. The protests sparked a heated debate among the colonists. Some of them argued that the survival of the city depended on its growth and expansion. Others claimed that the city needed to prioritize the protection of the environment above all else. In the end, a compromise was reached. The city would continue to expand, but the main priority would be sustainability and a responsible attitude to nature. The colonists would do their best to reduce their impact on the environment by using new technologies and following strict conservation rules. And they would also remember the importance of protecting the ocean and its fragile ecosystem. Years went by, and the underwater city continued to thrive. New generations of colonists were born, and they grew up in a world entirely different from the one their ancestors had known. They never saw the world on the surface, but appreciated the beauty and complexity of the underwater world they called home. And as the years passed, the city became a symbol of hope for a world struggling with the devastating effects of climate change. It showed that despite all difficulties, people could come together to create a better world. It is a reminder that the future is not set in stone, and that we can build it sustainably and in harmony with the natural world.
Everyone was in awe when they saw the Tesla bot up and dancing on stage. The concept of the robot is to help out humans with everyday boring tasks, like buying groceries, cleaning your house, and mowing the lawn. It can also take on some challenging tasks, like fixing your car or preparing a meal. But on the flip side, you won't see it doing all the routine tasks all the time, since it's aware of what it's doing. Tesla cars have some of the best software in the world, with incredible AI technology for navigating and self-driving. Besides their fancy look, they don't emit toxic chemicals like regular cars. They're extremely fast and can connect to your phone and help you out with many tasks while you're on the road. They build the cars using state-of-the-art technology, and they're very durable. But Tesla is more than a car company. Technically, it's also a software company. The self-driving mechanism takes data from the real world in real time and uploads it to their servers. So when many Tesla cars are on the road, they're constantly updating the maps and intelligence for any Tesla out there to pick up this new info and apply it while self-driving. So if your Tesla is on self-driving mode and you run over a pothole, it'll save that incident for other Tesla users to warn them about it. The AI is good enough to follow routes and navigate through traffic. It can even sense pedestrians on the sidewalk, or if they're crossing the road without looking. It can also avoid certain obstacles around and park itself in tight spaces by analyzing its surroundings. So the whole system relies on humans to constantly update it for the AI to grasp what's going on. This is how the Tesla bot will also operate. It will do daily tasks and learn from certain mistakes it might make. The robot is equipped with many cameras and sensors to balance itself out while standing on its 2 feet. Tesla cars are basically just supercomputers on wheels. You could even consider them to be a robot manufacturing company before the announcement of the Tesla bot. It's almost 6 feet tall, weighs 125 pounds, and has a screen as a face. Anyone can easily outrun it since it can only move at 5 miles per hour. It can carry no more than 45 pounds, but it can deadlift around 150 pounds. So it can easily carry something like a couch without breaking its back. And since the AI relies on learning, it'll undoubtedly be exceptional at doing small tasks that don't require much to get the hang of them. It'll observe what items to take and place in a shopping cart while grocery shopping. It'll probably know what brand of milk you like specifically and pack the good fruit and veggies. It may even conduct purchases and know how much to spend on a certain budget. And for house chores, it can probably learn how to do the dishes and tidy up without breaking something or even misplacing some of your things. If you own a Tesla car, then no doubt, the bot will be in the same software ecosystem as all Tesla products. You can get updates from your car using your bot as a personal secretary. Some countries already adopted AI operating systems to handle day-to-day phone calls from people. You can pick up the phone and have a full conversation with an AI agent, capable of helping you solve any issues you have. They can handle thousands of callers without anyone having to wait for hours to be connected to a human agent. They also learn from every single call and compile it into a proper script for them to communicate and help everyone out. Chatbots are just as useful in collecting data from people to help them with their needs. So the Tesla bot can learn what bothers you or what makes you happy or sad. You might be able to have a morning conversation with it like talking to a real person. And based on the AI learning systems, it can adapt certain gestures and movements similar to stuff humans do without realizing. Any investor hearing this would take out their wallet and throw so much money trying to make this reality. But there's plenty of loopholes in a humanoid learning robot. They can pose a threat to cybersecurity, since they can have access to all your personalized data and codes for your bank accounts or other important and delicate things. Some cyber criminals might want to modify the bot in a certain way to make it go faster or lift heavier objects. Giving the robot such strength might backfire and cause harm to anyone nearby. Even if the intention is good, the robot might respond in a different way, which will cause many scandals. Since much of Tesla's software relies on human behavior and the environment, fiddling with a robot to your personal needs can spell disaster. Elon Musk himself pictures humans merging with robots in the future, carving a path for our evolutionary descendants. In such a human-robot world, technology will be like the air we breathe. These bots could be the first ones to colonize Mars. After perfecting the bots to respond to humans and even make decisions, these robots can go on non-human expeditions and possibly be the first to land on other planets. SpaceX, which is another company founded by Musk, has been focused on bringing humans to the moon and then from there, sending them to the Red Planet. These bots can land on the moon without risking the lives of any human, and they'll already have the capability of handling themselves and get straight to work. Some bots could be specialized for certain tasks, like flying the rocket, engineering, or studying the ecosystem on Mars as scientists. Humans already had robot explorers roaming the surface and taking amazing images. But these robots can possibly do more and mimic what it's like for a human to walk on the surface of Mars before anyone lands there. They can record the sensations and send them back to Earth for us to observe and prepare for when humans arrive. They'll begin the construction of buildings for humans to live in and create an ecosystem. And by the time the construction is complete, humans would already be on the way to Mars to start a new life. The bots can walk in the open air and be the physical labor needed to build the foundations. These robots can even take control of imported machinery to excavate the ground. Proper vehicles designed for Mars can do things quicker than what we have at the moment. Technology will be so advanced by then that it may even seem like you're living on Earth. In an assembly line at a factory, the robots themselves aren't designed in human forms to operate the machines and assemble the pieces together. Rather, the robots are built to work on something specific. It wouldn't make sense to build a humanoid robot to drive a car and call it a self-driving car. They built the Tesla cars we know today. Same as having a humanoid robot operate the machines in a factory. The robot arms in the factories can do it perfectly. So the robots that would land on Mars will most likely be designed for certain tasks. A robot that's good at excavating will probably have a bulldozer appeal, but on different scales. Just like the robots that can fly to Mars will be specifically designed for flying. Tesla created a lot of buzz with the announcement of the bot. Even if nothing happens in the future, people are already talking about them and sharing articles and videos of that robot dancing.